Welcome to part two. I'll just admit Julian in. Yeah, so what do you make of it all then, Julian? The silence, kind of thing. What's your take on it all?
I think, well, it's like lots of things. I know I bring different things into this sometimes. I go on a bit, but there's a change curve in management, and I bet Rico and Terry could just quote this better than I can, and they say I've got it in the wrong order. But in life and in management, there's a change curve, right? And you go through this change curve when you get big news or when something's happening what you don't want to happen. And you go through, first of all, you go through anger, and then it's resentment. And then you go through a stage what's called denial. And I think we saw that stage of denial with everybody involved, with Matchroom, with Eddie, with Frank. And then you go through a stage of reflection. Before you get to acceptance, you have to go to reflection. And I think what's happened is I watched that, and I watched it all unfold. And at first, we got that anger, resentment, denial. We've seen all this on the change curve from these guys. And now we're getting to the acceptance stage now, whereas we haven't seen what they've seen, but there will be lawyers telling them, look, right, there's an adverse finding. It's a banned substance. It's going to be in the B sample. And we have to put a plan together now. We have to go forward, and we have to put a plan together. Now, if you look at the public reaction to how you guys are behaving, it's not great. Yeah, you're behaving like brats. You're in the wrong. You know they're in the wrong. You have to have a bit of humility now. So as they're going through that acceptance stage of the change curve, they'll be coming towards that realization. And then when you get to that realization, you have to say, okay, you start thinking a bit more positively or a bit more constructively about it. And I think that's what we're seeing now with this silence. We're seeing the silence from them because they're reflecting. And it's like, you know what? Yeah, it was in my system. We need to now figure out how we come out of this in a positive light, because this is now it becomes damage limitation. And as I've watched it, I know I'm going into detail there, but I've watched it, and you can I knew there would be this silence and this dip. And any quote you get from them will be, well, we've got to let the lawyers now, we've got to let the scientists go through this, and there's a process, there's a due process, and all this, innocent until proven guilty. Well, we know that's not the case. You get a positive finding. When there's a positive finding, they don't just say, oh yeah, it's positive, yeah, and release that. They check it. They're thorough. They're massively thorough what they've found. So they're going through that period now. What do we do? Okay, how do we spin this? A bit like the government. How do we spin this to come out of this? We've still got to be able to promote boxing, put boxing in a good light. We have to decide what we're going to do with Conor Benn. And I think what they're now doing is looking at damage limitation. They're looking at the marketing. They'll be looking at trying to put as much not innocence on Ben. They'll be trying to basically put Ben in this position. What says, do you know what? Right, it was naive. He didn't realize what he was taking. The people involved are being removed from the camp. There's going to be all this stuff, but what we know is it's not going to be Conor Benn's fault. It's going to be somebody else's fault, and I think there'll be a ban coming. We'll get some news in the next week or two. Hopefully there'll be a ban coming, and I think it just depends on what that ban is. Is it 6 months, 12 months?
Liam Cameron got 4 years.
Yeah, you have to show some remorse and some attrition, though, and that's the thing, because public vote with the feet, don't they? And whilst people say, no, Conor Benn's still a massive name, and I've heard people saying he's an even bigger name now, it'll make him even bigger. No, people say there's no such thing as bad publicity. Well, that's rubbish. This is bad publicity. This is like going to really hurt his profile. And we covered this, but it just shows, doesn't it? You come from nowhere, and then you're knocking out world-class fighters. And questions have been asked, and I think we've had the answer now, haven't we? We know why I was doing it, and I guess it's just what's next. But I'm not going to hang a young kid. I'm just going to say, let's see what you like in 6 to 12, 18 months' time. Let's see if you can have a bit more humility. Let's see if you can just change your attitude, because apparently I haven't seen it. He only put one message out or one tweet out, something. It basically was a hostile tweet, about people will be apologizing to him, and I hope the apology is as loud as I can't remember what it was, but he just showed again, he's an arrogant young man. So if he doesn't change his way, people will quickly forgotten about him. But one more thing, what I do think is going to happen, I think he's going to come back. He'll get a 12-month ban, and I think he'll come back, and I think he'll get beat mid-level, won't get to elite level. He'll get banged out, and he'll just fade away, because it's all hype.
They'll be testing on every single fight for him now, won't they? Even if there's no belt online.
He's all hype, mate. He's all hype. We know it. We know why he's taken the route he's taken. You and I have both said he's one of the most improved fighters in British boxing. Well, now I think we know why. So let's put that to one side, and I think we're going to be faced with a fighter who's just not going to cut it. And like I say, he's all hype, mate. And I did say right at the time, and everybody was saying the fight's postponed, so those guys won't fight. I said on here to you, I said they might fight in 5 years' time when there's nowhere else to go. But those guys are not going to fight. That fight's not postponed. That fight's cancelled.
Yeah. Do you feel that when we say things like, "Oh, he's most improved fighter. Look at him. I didn't think he had that in his locker." Do you think them sort of guys now are going to be held under suspicion?
Yeah, I think they have to be, don't they? Because generally you show indications of talent really early on. And boxing's littered with stories of fighters who have struggled through, and they've had Indian summers and they bloomed late and all that kind of thing. But I think it was just the rapid progression that we saw with Ben. It was absolutely massive, wasn't it? It was, as we said, it was getting yo-yoed by non-punching Frenchmen, and then all of a sudden he's just like hitting people like Vargas and smashing them to pieces in one round. Guys who, they've been stopped before, but durable guys who have gone the rounds with all these elite fighters. And listen, we've known boxing's had a problem with drugs for quite some time, but even myself now, I'm looking at fighters out there, domestically, on the world level. I think we're all doing it, and I'm just starting to look at these guys and thinking, okay, what's going on there? Maybe two of the top welterweights in the world right now. I'm looking at and I'm thinking, what's going on right there? What's going on with those guys? I'm looking at massive punching light heavyweights who you sometimes list in your top pound for pound.
Peter Beef, I know you.
I ain't doing a dripping tapping, and there was bang on. But I'm genuinely looking at fighters now and I'm saying, I'm not convinced, and I don't believe when people say everybody's on it. Tyson Fury said in an old interview, everybody's on it. Everybody's not on it. But I think we have a high number of people on it, and to test people weekly would cost an absolute fortune. But people now view boxing as, well, the view it as corrupt anyway. People think it's always been run by corrupt men of questionable kind of backgrounds. That's always been the case. We know all about that. And then you've got the horrendous scorecards, and you've got the bias, and you've got everything else rolled into it. And now we've got people saying the best never fight the best. We've got the politics. We've got numerous world titles, joke world titles. And now we've got people looking, saying, do you know what? It's not just all of that stuff what I've just mentioned. We've actually got a dirty sport where everybody's cheated and everybody's juiced. And it's such a shame. It's a shame for those clean athletes out there, and it's a shame for the sport of boxing. And that's how people view it. And it had a real good opportunity 2 weeks ago, didn't it, to put itself in such a brilliant light. But the thing is, anyways, the one thing I will say, I hate to say I was right. I always get told that I was wrong. I said the Ben Eubank fight wouldn't happen, but I also said it was massively dangerous. Not dangerous for Ben, it was massively dangerous for Eubank. And I went through that weight on your show. I went through that weight breaking down process, and I said he would be burning lean muscle, he would be wasting away, would Eubank, in the last few days of that fight, says he would be in a real unhealthy position, actually dangerous position for his own health. And then we all saw the photographs, didn't we? So I don't often say I told you so, but I knew what that kid was going to look like. And Conor Benn would have knocked him out, you know.
Yeah.
Having seen that, he'd have knocked him out. So nothing to him at all.
Yeah. The people that have not said anything, and there's people that have spoken out. Spencer Oliver spoke out, and he went up in my estimation, but he's working for the enemy now, isn't he? He's not, he's Sky and Talksport, and they're like one group, aren't they? But somebody who's not affiliated with any of them, like Curtis Woodhouse came out and spoke out, and I thought he spoke elegantly. A former British champion, he took boxing up at 26. I thought he spoke well. And he's one of them no tolerance people, because he obviously he had a short career from 26 to his early 30s, didn't he, or whatever, but he managed to win a British title, didn't he? So these people, they've been in the game, they want no tolerance. But yet there's other people who've been in the game and are not saying a word. I don't hear anything from Steffi Bull, because he manages Terry Harper. She's a DAZN fighter. Ben's a DAZN fighter. He's not come out and said a word, but I know his views on it, and he believes there should be no tolerance. Well, that's what he used to tell me back in days, and get him banned. Carl Greaves, he came out. He didn't bottle it. He came out and said, no, if they're guilty, get them out of the sport. There's a lot of other people that have been pretty coy about it. Bunce and a few others. They're all gone missing, haven't they? Why is that? Why have we got this?
2 words.
What?
No integrity. Simple as that.
Very disappointing. I know Dennis's opinion on it. Get them out of the sport. No.
Get them out. Ban them for life. Throw them out of the sport. They're trying to kill somebody in the ring. Get them out. Have no tolerance. None.
It's not like it's a line of coke. It's performance enhancing, isn't it? It's a masking agent that has been caught in the system. We know that now from all the experts that have come out. So they're hiding something. But my argument is this. What don't we know that's been going on behind the scenes? Because they were going to put that fight on. The Board of Control were going to put it on. They sat on it from the 23rd of September until the 6th, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Now that's 13 days before they made a decision. And then they went through the appeal process, and that it had lawyers on it. He even said that. And then when the board pulled the plug because somebody squealed to Daily Mail, Hearn and Calla came out and went, we're doing what's best for boxing. But back up 48 hours, that wasn't what were happening. They were going down the lawyer channel. So how can they come out and defend what they've said? They've caught on camera. Camera never lies.
You can't defend it. You can't defend it. We had Eddie saying that he had no intention of using a different, Luxembourg organisation or whatever, and that was never an option. Yes, it was. You and Calla both said that you were looking at that as a possibility. It was only when you realised you couldn't do that and you sensed the tide turning. I mean, one of the things that really frustrates me was Eddie's all about the hints and he said something that people don't know what that level or what the amount of that drug was in Ben's system, and basically he's trying to cast doubt on the levels. Well, there's 2 points to that. The first point is that you shouldn't have any of it in your system, none, right? And if you've got a small level in your system, it's because it's flushing out. Don't treat us like we're idiots. But it's like if someone gets accused of stealing 100 grand, and then they say, well, actually, I didn't steal 100 grand. I only stole 10 grand. You're still a thief. You still stole. Don't try and reduce this crime, what is done. Don't try and insult us by saying there's only a tiny amount of it. And, rubbish. Own up to it. But like you said, they were all trying to put this fight on. They didn't care less. And I think that's where Eubank Senior's been really honest, is saying, they tried to kill my son. And some people think that's a really strong thing that he was saying. I don't think it is.
Do you feel that it was old man Eubank that bubbled it all to Daily Mail?
I don't know about that. I saw Simon Jordan saying that he knows who said it, and it definitely wasn't Eubank Senior. So I don't know, but Eubank obviously knew, didn't he? He knew 2 or 3 weeks beforehand. So who knows? But the right thing happened. That fight didn't go ahead, and that was the right thing. And I will say, people listening will be saying you'd be painting Chris Eubank Jr. as an angel. Anybody who knows fighters want to fight. It's as simple as that. They believe they can beat anybody. And of course, Eubank wanted to fight. That's just in his nature. Listen, there's one person who's caused this, and it's Conor Benn. And then there's a group of people around him who tried to still make this fight happen. And that's Matchroom and the organisers. They're all as bad as each other.
Yeah, yeah. Are you shocked at the silence from the Boxing Board of Control, Julian?
No, the Boxing Board of Control, they've got lawyers left, right and centre. So they're very, very careful, especially right now. Boxing's in a precarious position. So they're very, very careful what they will release and what they won't release. So unlike promoters who never let facts get in the way of a good narrative, the Boxing Board of Control are factually based. So they'll be waiting until they have the evidence. They'll be looking at the case and they'll be looking at a course of action. They'll only go the legal way. So you don't hear that much from the Board of Control anyway, do you? You heard from the Board of Control, this has happened, we're not going to sponsor this fight. Then you had one more statement from them and then they went quiet. That's standard practice from the Board of Control.
Yeah, silence is golden, they believe in. A bit like the Queen, she never addresses anything, does she?
They'll speak when the time is right and when they're 100% sure what they're going to do, even if challenged, won't be reversed. So they're risk averse.
You see, the problem with taking them on, I took them on with Celia, because when they refused me my seconds license, I said, "Here, I want my money. I've paid you money. You got me go all the way out to Bradford to an hotel, and then you're questioning him about my criminal record when there's people with worse records than me with licenses." Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So I want my money back. They went, yeah. 3 months later, no refund. I went, boom, lawyers paid me. Now, what they do, they try and ignore you and hope it goes away. It's the same old thing that they've been doing for years, but the Board of Control are surrounded by QCs and barristers, aren't they? It's an old boys club, isn't it? I don't know if they're Freemasons. I don't know. I don't care. 25 years ago, if they'd have bothered me in the street, I'd have run them over and dragged them down the street and have been in prison now doing a life sentence. I won't mess around with people like that. I won't have them in my company. No, I've got no time for them whatsoever. They're a self-appointed organisation that needs busting up. They need knocking down and starting again. They are self-appointed. So what's to stop these multimillionaire people that keep throwing money into boxing, setting up their own organisation? Why can't they do that? Why not? Who's stopping it? They've got to go. We want you gone. Simple as. You don't know what you're doing. Robert Smith retires next month anyway. It's got to go. It needs busting up and starting again. They're all decrepit old men slinking about at shows for free gratis. They've got to go, mate. I want them gone. I urge people who see these people at shows not to throw drinks on them, just to pull them and ask them, when are you going to go? What are you doing for the sport? You're running it into the ground, just like Callum Sauerland is. 1 minute he's bigging up all these YouTubers. Have you seen the status of them shows?
Awful.
Next minute he's putting on Troy Williamson against Josh Kelly. What a great fight. That's a great fight, that, for Channel 5, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a big fight.
So how can he double dip? You're not supposed to double dip. When Chris Smedley wanted to get involved with white collar, the board went, you can't double dip. But they all do it. Everybody does it. They all do it.
I got asked the same thing. I trained 4 kids who had a charity fight, rugby players. It was a local thing at the Frontier, the old Frontier nightclub. And I trained these 4 kids and they asked me if I could do the corner. So I had to make a phone call to the Board of Control. Can't remember who I spoke to. I don't think it was, I forget what it was, a long time ago. Or I sent an email in it, and I had to basically say, can I do it? And it was like, no, it's white collar. It'll be held in a dim light. and you're probably going to get spoken to. So I didn't do the corner. It was fine. I wasn't bothered. So I had to be really careful. But it doesn't matter now, does it?
Well, this is how I look at it, right? Is Calla double dipping? Because he looks to me like he is, serving up trash on DAZN and then going and putting a show on Channel 5, a proper professional fight. I don't see him getting a tap on shoulder off Les Potts, do you?
No, they do what they want, mate. It's who you are and how much money you generate and what profile you've got. But, you know, Julian McGowan, you, mate, you can't go in the corner. You're not allowed to do it. So it's, yeah, I want to see a big reorganisation of the boxing board of control. I want to see the top level needs to be reviewed. I want to see some of the practices and processes reviewed. I want to see, these are two things I want to see from the board of control. I want to see UK and overseas fighters, but especially UK fighters, vetted. I want them to bring in a competence test. I'll do it for you. I'll do it free of charge. Right? You give me an empty gymnasium and 20 new licensee applicants, and I'll tell you at the end of 3 hours who's good enough and who's fit enough to be a professional, and who you should license and who you shouldn't. Easily done. Yeah. You do trials at GB level for amateurs to see who makes the cut. Let's see who's good enough to go pro. So that's what I want to do. And I'm not joking. I'll do it for you. I don't care. I want to see only people who can fight in a professional boxing ring. I don't want to see people who can't fight, who haven't got fitness or conditioning or come from white collar and they can't even stand in a decent shape and they can't navigate a full ring. That's the first thing I want to see. And the second thing I want to see is I want to see them bring the prestige of the British title back. They have to work with promoters and let's make the British title something special again. It's the most gorgeous belt in world boxing. It's a beautiful
belt, isn't it? It's the oldest belt, isn't it?
It's the history, it's the heritage, the Lord Lonsdale Challenge belt. And I want to see them force the best two fighters in Britain to fight. Why? There's no reason that they regulate the sport. They speak to promoters. I want to see the British title back where it should be. And I also want to see British title fights, you know, headlining good shows. I want to see interim continental fight on the undercard of those belts. And I think it should be done properly. But I definitely want to see the first thing I've said. I want to see competency. You literally, I'm not going to mention names. I know kids who have got licenses that wouldn't make it. The amateur gym where I box, Keith Tate wouldn't let them have an amateur fight. Kids I know have got professional licenses. Mark Tate would have said, you're wasting your time. Yeah. Go do something else. But yet they're getting professional licenses. It's horrific. That's what I want to see. Competency levels.
Yeah.
And I want to see imports coming over, getting off a plane. And when you see him getting some scales, and he's got breasts, and he's got love handles, and he's got no shoulders, and he's been stopped 12 times. I want you to give him his plane fare back and send him back home because the poor kid's going to get hurt, and give him a meal, feed him up a little bit.
Okay. All right then. Fury Chisora trilogy. The Saudis don't want it. Fury's banned from USA, but Fury says he's bringing boxing back for fans. Do you think he'd have gone to Saudi and America if they could have done? Of course they would have done, wouldn't they? Yeah. They don't care for boxing fans. 70,000 tickets are going to be sold in the first hour. All lot will probably be on Ticketmaster stuff or whatever, secondary sites. Have the kick sand in fan spaces, yes or no?
Right. I've said this before to you. I'm different opinion to most people on this one. I got no major issue with the Chisora fight if it's just a warm-up and he fights in 2 months' time, 3 months' time. If this is the only Fury we see for the next 6 months, I have an issue with the fight. But yeah, you have to be fair. I have to look at, you know, Joe Lewis. I mean, I'm going back now, but Joe Lewis fought Abe Simon and Buddy Bear twice. He banged them both out both times. None of them were great fighters. In fact, they were poor. Okay. World heavyweight champions have easy nights. Yeah. Fury had an easy night against Dillian White. It was a mandatory. I've got no issue with that. Deontay Wilder, early on in his reign, he fought some proper, you know, all right, what is the word, bum? He fought some not great opposition. I guess the challenge you've got here is I have no issue with a rematch, but this is a trilogy. So not only has he dominated him once, but he's dominated him twice. And the second time he dominated Chisora, Fury was asking the referee to stop this fight because I was there. It was such a one-sided fight. Could they have made a better match than that? Probably. But if you look at the format of WWE, if you look at the format of UFC, they keep bringing the same names back all the time, even the names who will get beat week in, week out, week in, week out. Fans soak it up, and I think fans just want to see Tyson Fury, and it'll probably sell out, mate.
Do you think we're in a situation now, Julian, where if you're popular and you've got the social media platforms, like Fury's obviously got millions of people that follow him, he can dictate now to promoters and fans who he fights, where he fights, and how much he gets, and people can like it or lump it, because if they're not going to pay him what he wants or who he wants to fight, he ain't going to fight. Do you think he's got him by short and curlies kind of thing?
Fury absolutely has, because everybody's interested in his story and everyone's invested in him. We love the craziness about him. We love the fact that he'll tell you one thing one day and something the day after. He's bipolar. We also love the fact that every time he gets into a ring, he's prepared to die as Tyson Fury. He lets it all go. He will absolutely put on a show.
He backs his mouth up, doesn't
he? Yeah, Fury's a fighter. You can't deny that. She's always a fighter, but I thought it was quite funny when I saw the video where he shut the gad down yesterday, didn't he? He basically told him to shut up. And everyone had a viewpoint why Fury did that. And I think Fury, because he's a man's man, he won't like somebody who's just, sucking up to him for the sake of it. And when the gad started saying he's a better fighter now than when you last beat him, I think even Fury took exception, as us.
He went into promoter mode, didn't he, like Adam Smith?
Yeah, it was embarrassing, Gareth A. Davis. And Fury told you to shut up because he was thinking, he's 40-year-old. He's been beat up.
Well, he's 40 next year, Derek. Isn't he?
He's 40 next year. He's lost so many times in the last few years. Don't insult people and don't insult me. I know what the fight is. And it's not a great fight, but it's a Tyson Fury spectacle, isn't it?
It's an Ali Brian London, isn't it? Job, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Ali Mildenberger, Jean-Pierre Koopman, and Richard Dunn.
Oh, Richard Dunn.
Richard Dunn. Ali beat these.
You know when you beat Dunn.
Honestly, just lived up the road with Richard Dunn. But it is what it is. I hope they put a decent undercard on this one, because you've got to give somebody some kind of value for money. And there's only one question, isn't there? And that's how long Derek Chisora can last. That's the only question we've got. If we get the big fight we want in February with Fury and Usyk, brilliant. But you know what? I don't think we will. I think we just can't seem to get the fight that matters in the heavyweight division, can we?
No, and we've been going on about it for 20 odd years, nearly 20 years now. Do you feel that all this Derek Chisora chap from Bricktop is saying he brings it, and Spencer Fear and aka Trevor McDonald saying that he's crazy enough to do it and blah, blah, blah. But we hear this about every single fight from Chisora, that he's going to bring a war. But when was the last time we brought a war?
Well, crazy enough to do what? I mean, first of all, Derek Chisora is not a one-punch knockout specialist.
No.
So the chance of him landing only takes one punch in the heavyweight division. It only takes one punch in boxing. If you're a known puncher, so he hasn't got a puncher's chance. He couldn't outbox Fury. He can't outlast him. He can't outman him. He can't outstrength him. He can't out-hustle him. He can't out-intellectualize him. He can't out anything Tyson Fury. So just say what it is, right? It's a public spar before the main course, hopefully.
I'm going
to say, listen, in terms of robbing the fans, I don't think they are, actually. I disagree slightly with anybody who thinks they are, because you know what? Just don't pay for it. Don't watch it.
Yeah.
Then they ain't robbing you of nothing. Watch the highlights the day after, cost you nothing. What we're doing is we're missing an opportunity. to see.
I said to Peter Fury once, how come that they can spar like 18, 20 rounds? And he says, because Huey as well, and Tyson, because they fight loose, don't they? They don't force it, do they? And I was like shocked at the amount of rounds that they could spar. And we're proper sparring partners
Good
as well,
fighters.
and rotate them and sweating like pigs when they get out ring, but fresh as daisies after a shower. It's like it's the norm. It's like red in a minute.
Yeah, Tyson Fury's got such amazing ring craft, and more so, he's got great spatial awareness. So some fighters have, when I'm talking about spatial awareness, he knows exactly where he is at any point in any time during in the corner in a fight. He'll know where his cornerman is. He'll know where the referee is. He'll know where the opposition's corner is. He just has great spatial awareness, and he's got great anticipation. Yeah, he's been nailed a few times. You go swimming, you get wet, but he just has that, what most people don't have.
Do you see a weakness in his game, Julian? Yes or no?
Yeah, I think he definitely has a weakness when he engages. When he's standing tall and boxing, Fury is really difficult to deal with. But we saw in that 4th round against Wilder in the last fight, and we've seen this before. When Fury engages, there's a basic principle. Just forgive me for a second, right? When you're boxing, there are kind of three types of defense. Yeah, you stand tall from range. You can have the hands lower down from range because you can see everything that's going on. That's your peripheral vision. When you step into a mid-range, which is when you're going to start to engage with power shots, you bring the hands up slightly because your reaction time's reduced, your window to react is reduced. And then when you get into a pocket, you got to bring the hands up. That's the same principle for absolutely everybody, because your time to react to a shot coming, to slip, to roll, to pivot, your window's gone because it's such a short range. Now, where Tyson Fury has a weakness is he'll keep that low left hand from distance. When he goes into the middle pocket, he keeps it there. And when he goes into that engagement point, his left hand's still by his chin. And that's what we saw with Wilder, when Wilder nailed him with the right hand as he came in, because he didn't have time to react to the shot. He tensed slightly and he got nailed. So I think his weakness is when he's engaging up close, but he'll take a really clever fighter to be able to maximize that and to nail him. So it's just every fighter has areas in their game that they can utilize. And when I was always teaching, I would always work on what I would call, if you just forgive me for a sec, I'd work on what I'd call the red zone, the amber zone, and the green zone. Now, a green zone is a safe zone. Now, if you're an inside fighter, your green zone is your inside game because you're comfortable, you've got everything going on. If you're an outside fighter, your green zone would be the outside game because you've got the distance, you've got the range. Now, you have to improve on those areas that you're not good at. We saw that with, I'll give you an example. When Josh Kelly fought David Evanesian, Josh Kelly is great on the outside with the pivots and the rotation and the feet and the long shots. And what I didn't see from Adam Booth, I didn't see any improvement in his...
Go to Adam Booth!
Honestly,
he's the best!
No improvement in his close range. And when Evanesian walked him down, he never brought the left hand up. He never brought that mid to close range defense in. He got walked down, got hammered and got panicked. And that's what a really good pressure fighter would do to you. And that's where I think Tyson Fury would struggle with a really good pressure fighter up close. There isn't one about.
Yeah.
Imagine if Kenny Norton, I'm not saying Norton would beat before the Tyson fanatics hammer me, but can you imagine if Kenny Norton up close, over the top, underneath, around the
with
side.
With that cross-arm defence.
Yeah. Kenny Norton would someone with that type of style, you know, a bigger Joe Frazier, not a 6 foot tall Joe Frazier. And this is where Chisora doesn't really have that game. He swings, doesn't he? He's rough, but he doesn't have that game.
He couldn't get out of the way. A pull left shots, these 40 odd pull left. He couldn't get out of the way.
It was something about that, even though he got the nod. He was shaking when he got hit, wasn't he? There was something really awkward to watch his legs shake when he got nailed by Pulev. But yeah, Tyson Fury's got his weaknesses, but there's nobody around really who can exploit them. And I also think he's clever enough, if there was somebody who could exploit them, to probably change his game slightly.
Yeah. Okay then. Well, listen, 2 minutes left. Porky question for boxing fans who'll come on Porky's Corner. Pick a question, Julian, and I'll send them this in post.
Oh, pick a question. Do you want it now?
Yeah, go on then.
Oh God, put me on the spot there. Oh God, you've caught me there, mate. All right, an easy one. Is it the first one to email in?
porkycorner@mail.com. First person who emails me,
Right, okay.
I'll post it
Easy
in
one.
post.
Who was boxing's first three-weight world champion?
I know you were going to say that. I wrote it down here. That's an easy one for you. That's so easy. It's unbelievable. I know
There
you
you
were
go.
going to say that. Great minds think alike.
Boxing's
Okay.
first three-weight world champion.
Boxing's first free-weight world champion. Go on then. No, I thought you were going to say.
That's the question for your guys.
Oh, I thought you. Sorry, I had. Who was the first three-time heavyweight champion? Oh, that was Ali.
No,
Sorry, no.
three-weight.
Free-weight.
world
Oh,
champion.
right. Okay. Who was boxing's first free-weight world champion? I have a good idea who it is. So, all right then. Well, listen. Thanks for coming on, Julian. I know you're very
You're welcome.
busy, and I'll let you crack on with what you're doing.
You take care, mate.
Take care.
Speak over the weekend.
All
Cheers,
right,
buddy.
bye. Cheers,
Thanks, mate.
There you go. Who was boxing's first free-weight world champion? I wonder who'll get that. Kent, you're not allowed to reply, Kent. All right, because you probably know. You probably got it on a list or something next to your bed and your transformer quilt, your box rec posters. Okie dokie. Hope everybody has a great weekend. Rico to come next. Peace out. Rico's return.